It's minus gazillion degrees. I don't know why I'm not wearing a real coat. I guess I'm like a polar bear. I got lots of natural insulation. We are at Yonge Dundas Square, where when it's not this cold, you have people handing out religious tracts, busking, all sorts of fun outdoor activities. And as you remember, Pastor David Lynn was charged with preaching without a license because they said he needed a busking license. You recall that we came in to help the pastor by recruiting a lawyer to defend his freedom of speech, freedom of religion. She joins me today, Sonya Shikhman. Great to see you again.
You as well.
Thanks for standing outside in the cold. I see the Reverend Lynn isn't here. I hope he's somewhere warm. I wanted to talk to you on the spot about the legal case. We retained you to fight for his freedom. Give us a courtroom update.
So the courtroom update is the last time we spoke, we set a trial date for January. As I told the viewers, I wanted to speak to a prosecutor to see if they would be willing, if they would recognize that he's probably not a busker. And that would necessitate them to change the statute, to change the actual offense, and then that would give us an opportunity to bring an allegation of breach of freedom of religion. Now what happened was we set the date, but I couldn't get a hold of any prosecutor in advance because for such small cases they don't actually assign prosecutors. What happened was, once I actually spoke to someone the night before the trial, it was fairly apparent that the time set aside by the court was not sufficient. And when my partner, Ezra Levant, who I think you know quite well, attended in court the next day to set a new date, the prosecutor on that day suggested that we have a meeting with the judge and the Crown, which is called the judicial pretrial, to discuss the Crown's prospects of convictions and the issues at bar.
Got it. So let me sum up. I think you spoke fairly plainly, but you used some legal terms. Right. I'm a lawyer myself. Maybe I can translate from legalese. So correct me if I'm right. So you had a date set for trial.
Correct.
But it wasn't enough time set aside.
Correct.
The prosecutor who took the file basically the night before realized there wasn't enough time, realized it was more complicated than he first thought. So you've set up this pretrial conference with the judge to figure out how it'll go. And usually at these pretrial conferences, the judge sees if it has any chance.
Correct.
This judge might say, hey, prosecutor, better drop it. So this is a different judge than would be the trial judge, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. You're 100% correct.
So what's the date of this pretrial conference?
March 11th.
March 11th. So there's a little bit of time. So do you think that the prosecutor who you met that day in court will be the same one who goes to the pretrial conference?
It was actually Ezra Levant who was there, and no, it's not the same prosecutor, but I do know who the prosecutor is now. She's a lovely lady. We're in touch on a regular basis, so I feel like there is a possibility of actually open discussions.
Got it. Now, we've talked about this before, but just to remind our viewers who might not recall our last conversation, and I'm sorry it's so cold, I'm almost done.
All good.
In a way, we want the prosecutor and the police to leave Reverend Lynn alone.
Right.
But in a way, if they want to fight, we want to fight too on our turf. We want to make the point about freedom of religion and freedom of speech, right? So what's the strategy? I don't want you to give away any secrets between you and your client, but what's your strategy for forcing the issue for freedom of speech and freedom of religion?
So I've told the Crown that I don't think they will succeed on the elements of the offense in proving that he's a busker. Plainly speaking, he's charged for being a busker and using an amplifier without a busking permit. If he's not a busker, he cannot be convicted of that section. So I've called on the Crown and I said to them, I don't think you can demonstrate that he's a busker, so you should change the allegations, change the section under which he's charged, which would then allow us to bring an application to challenge the validity of that section because it necessarily violates. That's right. Yeah. That's right. But once again, I do think that if we are successful with the Crown not proceeding, I think it would be surprising, and we spoke to your viewers about it before, if they were to charge him again, then we'd have a different issue of abuse of process, perhaps.
Well, I'm really glad you're fighting the fight, and I'm thrilled that my buddy Ed Prucci went. You guys are partners. He's so smart. I have such admiration for him, and you're pretty great too. Last question.
Yes.
We scraped together a little bit of dough to pay your retainer because although you've got a big heart, you do have to earn a living, and this is what you do as your job. Are you okay for a retainer, or do you need any more dough from our viewers?
We are okay for the time being. We're trying to use the money wisely.
Thank you.
Once we know where we stand, if we require it as he told us, then we will gladly come to you.
Let me know, because I don't know Reverend Lynn at all, really, other than what I've observed him doing here, and we've talked to him once or twice. But I don't think this case is just about him. It's about, can a man literally stand in the public square and sing a gospel song and preach from the Bible? I believe the answer has to be yes, especially in an area like this that's built for outdoorsiness.
And I think in reality, most police officers agree with you, because David Lynn is here on a regular basis and he's never been charged. It's this particular officer who, for whatever reason, and I invite the viewers to watch the YouTube video that they can find online, basically decides to throw the book at David when he tries to ask on what grounds and what the legal authority is. The officer actually seizes his amplifier.
We got that whole thing was on tape, which is quite something. Well, Sonya, it's great to see you. It's so cold. Let's wrap this up. I wish you good luck and your partner Ed, and keep us posted. March 11th, we'll put it in our calendar.
Sounds
nice
great.
to see you, my friend.
You as well.
Thank you.
Take care.